There was a giant attack in Syria over the weekend. It's one of the worst ones that I've ever seen, and I've been covering this conflict in detail for a while now. So it was in the Foa and Kefraya towns or areas. They're government held, but they're encircled by Al-Qaeda-linked jihadists since 2015. So they've really been under siege for a while and living in constant fear. They were evacuating civilians. The government was evacuating civilians, and bombs went off on the buses. You ready for this? These numbers are absolutely heartbreaking. At least 68 children were among the 126 people who were killed in this attack. Now, the details are, believe it or not, even worse than this, because there's video now of what the jihadists did. Is these people are starving because they've been encircled by jihadists for a long time. So there's very little food, very little medicine, and they're in a worst-case scenario. You had jihadists come in and basically throw food on the ground. And all the kids came in and circled and started picking up the food and eating it because they're starving. So they're baiting them in by throwing the food all over the place. And everybody goes to eat because you got to eat because you're starving. And then when they get a bunch of people in the area, boom. The bombs go off and it's just a slaughter fest. Again, 68 children killed out of 126 people. So, of course, look, this has been a huge story in the media, and because, I mean, we care so much. The media cares so much about civilian deaths. The U.S. government cares so much about civilian deaths. In fact, Macho Man Trump, because Ivanka saw the pictures, oh my God, my heart is broken. So Macho Man Trump and his band of neocons are immediately reacting. They're sending in drones. They're sending in traditional aircraft, fighter jets to take out the people who did this. Oh, right, that's not happening, and the media isn't covering it in any serious way. Why? Because it's the beloved rebels who did the attack, the Syrian rebels, the so-called moderate rebels. You think I'm kidding? We've covered the stories before, man. There was a beheading of a child that was done by a U.S.-backed so-called moderate rebel group. Isn't that incredible? People forget, man, they don't know. They don't know the history of their government supporting the Mujahideen in the 1980s in Afghanistan, because the Mujahideen was fighting the Soviet Union, who we viewed as our bigger enemy. So we said, yeah, arm and give money to the Mujahideen in Afghanistan and call bin Laden a freedom fighter in our newspapers, as we did. Have Ronald Reagan meet with the Mujahideen in the White House. Remember, these people eventually split up and became the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And we're doing the same thing now in Syria. Yeah, whatever, arm the rebels, back the rebels. And then when this happens, by the way, some of the reports on this are just totally misleading and leaving people with the impression that Assad's government killed these people. No, that's not the case. It was the rebels who killed these people, but they're misleading on purpose. And the ones who admit that, okay, look, this wasn't Assad's government, what they do is, I'm not kidding, that CNN and major media outlets, they referred to this as a hiccup. They said there was a hiccup today when 68 children were blown to bits and 126 people in total were killed by, a disgusting bomb attack where they baited children in by throwing food on the ground. But no outrage from mainstream media in the U.S., and Trump and the government, are they going to, look, you said, oh my God, there was a chemical attack that Assad did, even though, by the way, there's been no evidence presented of it, and Assad turned over his chemical weapons 2 years ago, and he already basically had won the war. The rebels are on the ropes. They have almost no chance of winning. So he's going to do a gratuitous chemical attack on civilians when he gave up his chemical weapons. Doesn't seem to add up to me, doesn't seem to make sense to me. But they say, no, we're so convinced and there was a chemical attack and it was so barbaric that, oh my God, we got to go bomb his airport here where the planes are taking off. But what about here? Hey, we know the region where the jihadists and Islamist rebels are linked. Why are you not... Why? I don't understand. Why is General Mattis and Secretary of State Tillerson and Donald Trump... we're going to send the jets and we're going to kill them. By the way, let me be clear. I don't want to be in Syria at all. I want to be out of Syria. I mean, I want to give humanitarian aid to all the civilians who are suffering, of course. But I don't want to be in there. Look, according to the U.S. government, they say, we hate Assad. He's terrible. And the rebels, yeah, there are some unsavory characters there too. So why the fuck would you get involved if you admit we don't like both sides? That's an open invitation to www.getthefuckout.org. But no, we're still involved and we're helping the rebels. And there you go. Here's what your beloved rebels just did. They just slaughtered kids. They just massacred children. And very little outrage in U.S. media. The neocons got dick to say about it because the neocons, all they care about first and foremost is regime change in Syria. Because Syria is aligned with Russia and Iran. Russia and Iran are our main enemies. So we want to get rid of Assad, put in a puppet to U.S. corporations. And by the way, what kind of a government would it look like? It'd probably be a Sunni theocracy. Just like Saudi Arabia, just like Qatar, who are our top allies. You think, we really care about the civilians in Syria? No. If it means getting a U.S. corporate puppet dictator installed in there, like that, the U.S. would say, yeah, women should have no rights in Syria, should be a total theocracy, behead people for apostasy and sorcery and witchcraft. We don't give a fuck. As long as you're our buddy and you help our corporations, you're good to go. And hey, if you're Al-Qaeda-linked jihadist rebels massacre kids, yeah, we are so mad about that and we are outraged. Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like it at all.